Hey everybody, Felix Staffelbaker here. I wanted to make a video about Google Cloud, and a lot of people have kind of overlooked the fact that Google Cloud announced that they were going to be a block producer candidate on the EOS mainnet. And what I've noticed is a lot of the largest information dealing with EOS often gets overshadowed with some other type of market event that seemingly makes the EOS news a non-event. You know, plenty of times, especially with when, Google Cloud came out and announced that very shortly after Dan Larimer announced that he was leaving Block One, which he never actually left EOS, he just left Block One as a company. But that got so much stirred up, so many people to leave, and just started a bunch of nonsense that it overlooked the actual information that was huge. And we see that time and time again. Google Cloud announced that they were partnering with Starlink and SpaceX to bring a more secured internet to the world. And then all of a sudden we have all this Elon Musk news and China news, and now what we're seeing is that all of that announcements are starting to pay off in a big way. And if you look at what EOS Cloud is doing, they're actually building the history of the entire EOS blockchain as a block producer candidate. They're going back and they're actually documenting and putting all of the blocks in order, with every single transaction that has happened on the EOS mainnet. And what they're doing is building themselves as the super node that has the entire history. If you look at Bitcoin nodes, what they do is or even Litecoin nodes or any type of proof of work node, what they do is when you download it, you have to download the entire blockchain, every transaction that ever happened, so that when you are running in sync with other nodes, you can verify the transactions and understand that the transactions are real, and be able to verify with certainty that the blockchain is doing what it says it's doing and did what it said it did. And so we see that happening with Google Cloud, and you have to understand that EOS is the longest blockchain out of any of the other chains. It's running so fast and having so many transactions per second that even though a blockchain like Bitcoin has been around for 12 years plus, and EOS is coming up on 3 years, EOS is actually longer because it has half millisecond block times, and Bitcoin has 10-minute block times. So there are so many transactions that have happened over the past few years. And then when you take into account the IDOS, quote-unquote, network spamming, where it was just actually testing the network to be able to change certain things, those are tons and tons and tons of transactions. And so they're having to go back, and you got to think too, there's still transactions happening now, and they have been happening since they started, so they're having to catch up on that as well. But when you have the infrastructure and the server farms like Google has, the highest of the highest technologies, the latest and greatest, they're equipped and they're ready to be able to handle that type of task. It's just taking some time, and it will probably continue to take a little bit of time, but you can guarantee that once they actually catch up and are running current state of the blockchain transactions and verifying them, that we will see them start to significantly move up the ranks. They were several dozen down, like in the 60s or 70s as far as block producer candidates, and that just means that they're actually in a standby mode. the top 21 block producers actually produce the nodes. They rotate every 3 seconds, and then everyone outside of that top 21 is just a standby operator waiting to be voted in by token holders. And I think that there's a lot of token holders that have been kind of on the sidelines and kind of waiting, and then we have to take into account the exchanges who have all held EOS or have been voting themselves in, or those kind of things. And once all that starts to shift, whenever major players come online, like Amazon, Google, and SpaceX, those types of people, they'll be able to vote, and you'll be able to see a Google Cloud in the top 21 getting paid to produce blocks in real time and having a complete history of the entire blockchain, so that we know that it's verifiable and real, the same way that we know with Bitcoin blockchain that all the transactions are real and verified, because the people running the nodes and the miners have an entire history of the full blockchain. And so we're seeing that start to play out now with EOS, and it could still take a little bit of time, but I feel like they're moving at a breakneck speed. And once we see that fully integrated into the Google Cloud ability, and then they're up to speed, we're going to be off to the races. And I think that might be one of the very few things that are kind of holding some of the stuff back, because once you have an entire history of the entire blockchain, then you're off to the races running at real-time speeds. Then everything is possible. You can start to unroll some of these higher technologies that require even more scaling, even more transactions per second. You don't want to overload that while they're still trying to catch up to the real time. So I think that there's a lot of people not really taking that into account and seeing what's happening. There's a huge train coming, and if you're not paying attention, you're going to be ran over by it. So I just want to put that out there. Stoffel Baker out.